Hi, welcome to another episode of Talk to Rami show. I'm sitting here with a very special person. He's not only a great entrepreneur, trainer, public speaker, and published author, but he's a great mentor. He's the one that he can tell you how to really network. Thank you so much, Steve, for being here. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you are, and you have a crazy schedule. But let's get cut to the chase.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. But if anybody wants to know about you, they can go on Google and search Steve Harper, and they can know a little bit of everything about you. But the main reason that I'm actually sitting here with you and is a pleasure. But a lot of people, they want to know actually what the heck is networking. I'm serious. A lot of entrepreneurs are really confused, or even ordinary people out there, they don't know what is networking. What is really networking?
So I think networking is all about connecting with people, right? You've got stacks of business cards there.
Yeah, I brought it here for a reason.
You obviously been to events where you see people walking around an event, like there's a prize at the end of the night for handing out all the cards or collecting them, right? I've never had that type of experience be very successful for me. My approach to networking has always been about connecting with people, engaging, figuring out a little bit about who they are, what their story is, and then the business just naturally comes from there. And so I take a totally different approach. It's not about the 7 steps to get the business card or have a better elevator pitch. It's really about connecting with people.
But I have, I went to many networkings. As you see, this is the stack of the business card. But those are, some of people that they actually reach out to me, say, hey, get back to me. I think networking it can be transactional or transformational.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they are a ninja card, business card people.
Sure.
They come to the network, they're going to see what is in it for me, not for the other person.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. People go there and I think they have the wrong intention, right? They're trying to sell their product or their service, get their business card in front of as many people as they possibly can. And I think that's where the problem is. I mean, you look at any of these business cards here, we won't actually point out anybody, but my guess is you could go through this stack and you probably wouldn't remember hardly any of the people
Absolutely.
that you engaged or any of the conversations related to that. And I think networking to a large degree is not about the business card. It's about the conversation. It's about the experience and, really kind of having that unique opportunity to engage with somebody at, human to human, heart to heart, belly to belly conversation.
I read your book. As a matter of fact, I was the first person I got your book because I chased you to connect with you. And that's the persistent, by the way.
Yeah. Some call it stalking, you call it persistence. So.
Yeah. But, I read your book, and then you talk about negative networking. What is that? Is networking can be actually negative and damage you?
Absolutely. I think, kind of like I was saying earlier, when you have people that are running around the networking environment, maybe it's the chamber luncheon or it's the after hours business networking function, and they're handing out business cards, they're thrusting them into your face, right? And quickly trying to ascertain whether you're an ideal prospect for their product or service. That's the negative networking, right? That's the thing that gives a lot of people pause that, they don't really like the experience. So you feel dirty when you walk out of there, to be honest. It's like, I just spent some money to go to this event and I spent time, that I may have, been more profitable spending or investing elsewhere. And I walk away with basically a stack of, kind of lifeless conversations that really haven't benefited me in any way, shape, or form. And so I think a lot of people perceive that as a very negative networking experience.
Basically, what you're saying that you have to know why you're attending that network or what you're trying to get out of it.
Well, I think that aligns with your goals, right? If you're an entrepreneur, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you going to have your best conversations? For me, as an entrepreneur, networking events never actually met that need for me. I never felt that I actually made the right kinds of connections at, say, a traditional networking event. My best connections came from having coffee with, a guy that called me up and wanted to, learn about my book, right? And we've, struck, now what, 10 or 11 year,
we're
friendship.
sitting here.
You look at, opportunities to have a conversation with people just out in the regular world. I think that, especially in today's world, people are very challenged with actually having a conversation, engaging another human being. In a networking environment, the challenge is people are there with an agenda, and you don't generally get to see who they are for who they are. And you don't really end up walking away with an experience that helps you benefit much by, building a relationship or even a strong connection to them. The challenge there, I think, for most people is you walk away unfulfilled. And so for me, it's always been the person that I met at Starbucks, or engaging people out in the real world. Some of my best connections came from the most unusual places, sitting next to somebody at a UT football game, or connecting with somebody literally in an elevator, on my way to my room after a conference. Just having having a conversation with somebody just like a normal person. That's what I think real networking is.
That's why you created a Ripple event?
Yeah,
what is that? A lot of our audiences don't know.
So we created an event called the 8-Minute Ripple, which is transformed into the corporate Ripple. So we do these for corporations as well. But basically what it is we set the environment so that you don't have the pretense of traditional networking. You can't walk in with a business card. You can't have an elevator pitch. You can't talk about where you went to school or anything that...
No business.
No, essentially not. And then what we do is we leverage Ripple connection questions. They're fun questions to ask, fun to answer, and they're designed to really create a conversation opportunity. And what I hope people drive out of that experience is they get what I call a connection point. A connection point is something that you learn about somebody else that makes them unique to you. And so those connection points become your dialogue jumping off point the next time you engage. Hey, I really had a great time talking with you. I really enjoyed the chatting with you at the event. I see that maybe you find out that they're a big soccer fan. You and I have that in common. There's an opportunity to take that conversation to get to know them even better. Hey, did you catch the Manchester United game this past weekend? It was great. Yeah, I saw that. It was fantastic. And the conversation evolves from there. People always say, well, how does that drive business or opportunity for me? Maybe not on the surface will it do it automatically and immediately, but what you find is once you lay the groundwork and you actually build the right kinds of relationships with people, then people naturally want to do business with you. And so I'm a proof positive of that. I'm shy and introverted, and part of the reason I have always been painfully shy, and the reason I created the 8-Minute Ripple was I wanted to make it safe and fun for people to connect and engage in a non-threatening environment. And so the events have been hugely successful, have been a lot of fun to facilitate. We've done it for small groups, small organizations, and of course I've done it for conferences. I had a conference that had 8,000 people rippling at one time, which was just absolutely insane and awesome to see.
Basically, those questions, and I have some of them actually here, those questions are icebreaker, basically.
Exactly.
You get to the, deep of that personality or character, or they kind of open up to you.
Everybody has a story, right? And
Absolutely.
The quicker that you can figure out how to hear someone's story, the more you can identify with certain elements of who they are and what they're about, right? And for entrepreneurs out there that might be watching this video, everybody understands that being an entrepreneur is hard, right?
It's very hard.
And there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of difficulties that we don't on the surface like to show. And so we tend to be very guarded, and we tend to spend a lot of time in sort of our business mind, which is always promoting or
always selling,
talking about our products or services, right? But what you really need as an entrepreneur is you need a support resource. You need other entrepreneurs that are sort of going through or have been through some of those trials and tribulations and some of those stresses that you can benchmark off of, a trusted resource, if you will. And I think you only get to that trusted status when you actually sit down and connect and engage with somebody and really get to know them.
This is the one question everybody asks me to ask you. When you know that you have to get rid of one of your people in your network, like that's it, they are damaging more than helping?
That's a great question. I call it culling the herd, and I think people should do it regularly. We're in a world where connections are easy to make, right? To be
Absolutely.
quite honest with you, I mean, you can invite just about anybody you want to connect with you on LinkedIn. You've got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got all these different social platforms, and so we've become connection hoarders in a lot of ways, right? We end up feeling like more and more and more is we've accomplished something, and the reality is that's not the case. And so I'm a big believer that maybe once a quarter, maybe twice a year, you should go through your LinkedIn connection and you should ask yourself a very specific question. Is this someone I'm willing to invest time in to get to know better? Because if they're in your network, you saw something, hopefully, that enticed you enough to either accept a LinkedIn invitation from them or to reach out and connect with them. And so I think a lot of times you have to ask yourself, hey, is there this relationship, is this potential direction of where this could go, is it serving both of our needs? And if it's not, that's time to maybe make room for someone else that needs to be there. And so I'm a big believer that you don't need more, you need better quality relationships in your network. And so I'm a big proponent of, focusing on the efforts of, going through periodically to make sure that you have the right people in your network. And to your point is when you know is the time, follow your gut. If I haven't engaged with you in 2 or 3 years, you're not reaching out to me, I haven't taken the time to reach out to you, there's no real reason to continue, to think that we're going to connect over the course of the next year, then it's okay to unlink in with somebody or maybe remove them from your immediate network. Because, excuse me, I think part of the challenge that you run into is that if you don't do that, you're just creating a very noisy environment for yourself, because you see all these people that you're really not all that committed to adding to your news feed and your stream and all the stuff that you see on these social platforms, or they just take up space. And so I think even if it's just mental space, I think part of that is, sort of, it's kind of unifying and kind of sort of really a positive experience to actually make room for someone who might need to pop up there. And you and I have talked about this. I'm a big believer that the right connections that you need to make in your network show up at exactly the time that they need to. And you need to have room for them to be in your network.
And I know you are a big fan of making a difference. I read your tweets every day. You say it's 17 days left to the end of the year, make a difference. How you kind of combine this networking? I know there is a way to combine that with making a difference, because if you connect with the right people, and then you can make a difference. How you put that in perspective?
I think actually it comes down to just being a good human, right? Being somebody that is out there creating as many positive experiences as you possibly can out in the world, whether it's somebody that we're actually engaging with to bring into our network or trying to connect with for a business purpose, or it's a complete stranger. I think that you are given an opportunity to create ripples every single day, and I think you need to look for those, whether it's, helping a homeless person out with a few dollars, holding a door open for someone that is coming into your building, or just recognizing a police officer or someone from the military who's there to support and provide protection and preserve our freedom. Send them a note and tell them that you picked up their tab, or don't do that. Be completely anonymous. The neat thing about the ripple is it's very much like what you think. You cast that stone, that ripple, actually ripples out, but it also ripples back to you. And so a lot of times the efforts that you do to be a good person, just kind of a good steward of the planet, is sometimes creating those ripples without any recognition. And so I think if you do that periodically throughout the day and you look for ways to make a difference, your life is greatly enhanced and it's better.
That's why you call it ripple on?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well,
everybody talking about that. They said ripple on, ripple on.
Well, it's kind of taken off. It's kind of cool. It only took 10 years, but
yes.
It's I sign all my emails that way. I try and close all my trainings and my speaking engagements with that. But the funny story about that was when this first edition of the book came out, somebody mentioned to me, hey, you can't just sign the book. You got to come up with your moniker, right? You got to come up with something. And I'm like, I don't know, ripple on sounds pretty cool. It's like, that's what I'm trying to get people to do. It's like probably going back to that, that old Saturday night skit with, I can't remember the guys that do it, Wayne and Garth, Wayne's World. And he would say, rock on, Garth.
Rock.
So I think I may have stolen a little bit of inspiration there, but essentially.
But everybody using it right now. Everybody, most of the are in Circle of Trust, or the entrepreneurs that I talk to them, they say, hey, see you tomorrow, ripple on.
Yeah.
I really love it when you say, people actually using it, and they know the definition of it.
They do, and there's something unique about the concept when you use it that way, because you're doing business with good, upstanding individuals, right? You're engaged with great people that are committed to similar values and approaches to business as you are.
A lot of people say, "Are you a rippler?" And that's what they call him, Mr. Ripple, right?
Yeah.
You got that name.
I think so. I don't know. I didn't name myself that, but I don't mind it at all.
That's great. And then I have this question that personally, I get invited to a lot of networking events. Be honest with you, Go here, go there, talk to these people. When you know which event you should go and which event you should not go?
Ooh, that's a great question. So a lot of times, especially for events that you haven't been to before or don't have a history with, you don't really know exactly what you're, potentially getting into or what you might be missing. I'm a big believer that you try everything once and you try and go to different events.
What you have to lose.
Occasionally, yeah. There's nothing to lose to do it because now you've got the experience and like, hey, I don't ever want to do that again. There's formal business networking groups. I won't name them, by name because I don't want to be sued. But you have to show up every week, and you have to have your elevator pitch, and you got to have your business cards, and you better have brought a lead or two to certain individuals. And there's this militant approach to it. And for me, that never works. And for me, that was not the right approach. For some people, it is, right? And the direction that they head and the approach that they may take it's absolutely fine for some people, but for me it's not. And so I'm very discerning about the events I go to, and I try and look at it. And really at the end of the day, being shy and introverted, I have to look at where I'm going to get my most beneficial return on the energy, and because they are tiring for someone like me to go to. So I look at those things and try and be a little bit discerning in terms of what ones I go to. And I've seen people that go to every networking event that they could possibly go to. They spend a couple $100s a week attending, breakfast, lunch, and dinners. And, I ask them, how's that working for you? What's the benefit? And if you can find value out of it, great. But I think the large majority of us are prepared and ready to do some connecting differently.
And as you get busier, you really don't have that much time in the day. Like, you're not that 15 years ago, Steve Harper.
Yeah.
You're busy. I know how your schedule is busy. You don't really have time to meet everybody.
Absolutely not. Well, you go to an event and, using your business cards again, you walk out with 5 or 10, 15 cards from that event. You got 5 or 10, 15 cards from the lunch event that you're going to. The challenge that you run into is how do you know any of these people? And really what happens or should happen for most people is if you had 2 or 3 legitimately fun and engaging conversations out of that event, those are who you focus your time in. So rather than going to an event tomorrow or next week, maybe your time is better spent connecting with those individuals by, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee? Could I buy you lunch? I'd like to learn a little bit more just because I enjoyed the conversation and see where that goes and see how you can deepen and strengthen that.
This question is for entrepreneurs. I'm a rookie. I'm a rookie entrepreneur. Like, where should I start? I want to get out there. I'm a kind of introvert, and I'm in my comfort zone, and I want to get out there and network. Where should I start? How should I do it? This is the question a lot of entrepreneurs have.
Sure. I will tell you one of the ways that I did it as a brand new entrepreneur is I started looking at who some of the movers and shakers were in Austin, and rather than leaving it to chance that I might meet them at a chamber event or some sort of professional networking environment, I actually reached out to them on the phone. Hey, I'm brand new to Austin. I got my own business. Seems like you really are doing some really amazing things in Austin. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind allowing me to come, meet with you, buy you a cup of coffee, and learn a little bit about what I can from you. People were amazingly receptive to that. And in fact, some of my best connections came from those initial conversations. If I'm a brand new entrepreneur and I'm looking at how I invest my time, I think 2 words of caution for a brand new entrepreneur is it's so easy to be so committed and focused to your venture that sometimes that's all you have. That's your only bailiwick. That's the only thing you ever feel compelled to talk about. And so at a networking environment, that could be very closed-minded and you can miss a lot of opportunities there. So I think it's important that you find diversity and look for diversity in events, diversity in the people that attend those events, and try and expand the horizon, so to speak. And I'm a big proponent of having a very diverse network, right? Because you never know where the great ideas are going to come from or what somebody's perspective based on life or business experience, how that might benefit you from the people you come in contact with. So I'm not an extremely creative person, but I have a lot of people that I hang around with that are artists and creatives. I love hanging around musicians and figuring out how they work. I'm really focused on very smart analytical individuals. I've got developers that are friends of mine. I've got people from pretty much all walks of life, which is very awesome because if I'm facing a business problem as an entrepreneur or I need a different perspective, I've got this amazing network of people that I can kind of systematically look through and pick to say, hey, I need some advice or I need some guidance or you have some experience in this area that I think could really benefit us.
And are you planning to write the second book?
Well, that's the second edition.
The third book.
I am actually. I'm working on a book that right now focuses on the connection point concept, which is Okay, I've established who is important to me in my network. Now what do I do to really grow that relationship with that person? And so my focus right now is putting some writing together. It's going slower than I would like. Not because I'm lack of inspiration, just lack of time, as you alluded to.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge, but I'm really fascinated with how to get people to connect and engage at a deeper level now.
Basically, I got to know you. We are connected. Now, how are we going to build that relationship?
That's exactly right.
That's the second part of basically networking.
You know, it's discover, deepen, develop, grow, and then how do you maintain that relationship is really kind of the model
that can be challenging sometimes.
And it can be, but it's challenging, I think, for a lot of people because we don't put the proper focus in each of those areas. And you have to look at, and you asked, how do I evaluate my network, so to speak? Well, I think that's just as important as to how to get people out of your network as to how do I grow my network. So I think it's super critical that you look at your connections with regularity and say, okay, where am I in those stages? I've made the connection. I want to, grow and develop that relationship. What do I need to do next in order to do it? And the reality is, it is going to take you to do it. It's going to take your efforts because a lot of times people don't think about these things. So you're often not getting those efforts reciprocated or instigated by someone else. So you've got to drive and steer that boat. And what you'll find is once people know they can count on you, and they know that you're someone that is a trusted resource, like you mentioned, you're someone that they want to have an engaged relationship with. Does that mean that you have to get together every week or have a beer or lunch? You and I are clearly, case in point examples of not having to do that. We both know a guy, Fred Turlack, that is exactly the same way. We cannot see each other for a year or maybe more, and you pick up exactly where you left off. Why? Because you've built that strength of relationship, that you have that courtesy to do that. And if you ever needed help, you know who to call.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about this question, like how you come up with those questions. You just sit down and write questions?
Yeah, so the first 8-minute Ripple event we did in 2005, I was really dead set against not having the traditional networking. So we posted the rules, hey, you can't bring your business card, you can't talk about what you do for a living, you can't talk about where you went to school, all these things that sort of denote status, right? So we want to bring everybody onto equal playing field. And I'm literally, the morning of the event, I'm like pretty proud of myself. This is like revolutionary. This is awesome. And I'm sitting in the shower and I'm naked, which is my normal thing for being in the shower. And all of a sudden it hit me. It's like, oh my God, if you took all those things away from them, what are they going to talk about? And I got into this cold sweat. I jump out, toweled off, and then I just started writing questions that I've used over the years. At the time, they weren't
the question that you ask other people.
Questions that would get people talking and things that would help them to open up and help me learn a little bit about their story. And, I just started writing, and for that event, I wrote out about 60 questions. And now I've got about 650 that I use.
650 questions?
In various rotations, depending on the event or whatever. But they're all designed to be fun, engaging questions. They're fun to ask because you anticipate the story that's going to come behind it. But then there's also that, anticipation on your part that you'll get to answer the same question. So things like, what are you passionate about outside of work? For me, this, I'm passionate about my kids, and I'm super engaged with soccer. I've been a soccer coach for 23 years and love the sport. It's one of my passions. I'm a big Chicago Cubs fan and a Dallas Cowboys fan, which, perpetually makes me, a veritable loser in a lot of sporting, fan views. But ultimately, you would not believe how many conversations get started because we have that connection point in common, or somebody recognizes that. And so those questions that I've created are designed to help you figure out what that connection point is with you and another human being.
Okay. Another question that I have, how you have built a network of value? How your network is valuable?
So one of my tests that I tend to tell people is, imagine something significant happening in your life. You find out, you go back to the office today and you're being laid off, or your division's being outsourced and you need to go find something else within the company to do, or you're an entrepreneur and your controller has been embezzling and now you don't have enough money to make payroll next week. The major stuff happens. It happens to all of us, right? And the reality is, I tend to ask audiences to think about their network and ask people, how many in the audience think that they have a strong network? And people think because they have, the LinkedIn 500 or better connection badge, or I've got 2,000 Facebook friends, or, I got.
But that doesn't count.
No, My belief is that you have to have 10 personal connections on one side and 10 professional connections on another side that actually would drop anything and everything to help you at a moment's notice do whatever needs to be done. And if you don't have that, you don't have a strong enough network.
Yeah, that's way more than networking. That's really is a great value to have, that you have a person you can pick up a phone and call, I need this needs to get done, and then they're going to be there for you.
Well, they're your trusted resources, and the key is whoever you consider on both sides of the fence, your personal and your professional network, you need to make sure that they know and would have the same thought process for you if they found themselves in that same situation. Otherwise, you haven't done your job, and the network is not.
And you call that 10-10 model?
I just call it I just call it your top 20 resources. Your trusted resource network, but that's your inner circle.
Circle of the trust.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Circle of trust. I really like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm picking up one of the questions. Actually, I want to ask you that. I have so many questions to ask you, but we only have like 25 minutes. But I want to close it with this.
Okay.
If you could give one piece of advice to future generation, what would it be? This is such a great question.
It is one, and there's so much advice that I would like to give them, but I would actually, today's future generation, put down your devices and learn to have a conversation. Figure out how to talk to people. And I know that's a challenge for a lot of, especially younger individuals. I do a lot of work with millennials in corporate training, and they just don't have that experience in their background. But when you show it to them, you actually help them find that path to conversation with someone that they work with, a direct report, supervisor, and they start to see the benefits of, hey, if I show a little interest and I have some good questions at the ready that I can ask people, I can learn a little bit about their story. It's amazing how Pandora's box just opens up. And it's awesome to see people go from not really feeling comfortable doing it to that's all they want to do. I'm reading a book right now by Brian Grazer, a well-known Hollywood producer. He's a partner with Ron Howard. They've done Apollo 13, A Brilliant Mind, tons of different movies that everybody would recognize. And he wrote a book called Curiosity, and his whole component was, how do you ask questions so that you can learn about people? And so he has curiosity interviews that he's done for his entire career, and really actually, quite honestly, puts it as one of the primary reasons he's successful in Hollywood today, because he's got this curious mind. I would teach generations, the future generations, that to have that curious mind is a very, very powerful tool, because what you learn about people, what you learn about their hopes and their dreams and how you can be a benefit to them, there's power in that.
That's great. And I know after this show, a lot of people, they're going to ask me where they can find your book. I know they are available on Amazon.
They are Amazon. Barnes & Noble's carries it from time to time. If you're in Austin, it's, Book People, I think, carries it. We have it on the website. It's ripplecentral.com. If you order it from there and you put a note on your order, I'll be happy to personalize and autograph it for you.
Good.
So I do it for individuals, corporations. It's a great training tool.
And when would be your next Ripple event? That people actually 8-minute Ripple?
That's a good question. You have to check my website.
Yeah.
We had been hosting them with regularity, but
because I love it.
This year has been fantastically busy, and so unfortunately I haven't quite been able to
2016.
2016, we got more events coming. So
okay.
Just check in with us.
That's great. But thank you so much. I really appreciate for being here and sitting with me. I know your crazy schedule. You got to run. I know that. You told me before we started it.
Well, thank you for having me. I feel like I have made it. I was trying to get on Oprah's show. I mean, come on.
I'm not even close to Oprah.
You're way better. You're way past it. It's fantastic.
I'm trying to just do something that other people they can use, because a lot of other people, they're trying to get a hold of you to talk to you, but with this show, you answer a lot of questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was an
You're
honor
welcome.
to be here.
Thank you so much for watching Talk to Rami Show. If you would like to watch more interviews like this, go to @TalkToRami, and remember, you always can make a difference, one person at a time. Thank you. Until then, have a great day.